Ahoy, everyone, and welcome aboard the DCL Show. We're talking all things Disney Cruise Line. I'm your captain, Rhino, and with me today are my co-captains, Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And we've got Chris Vorbeck.
Hello.
Chloe Fiera.
Ahoy.
Hi. Thanks for being here, friends. I'm ready to set sail with you on this show. That's a terrible way to introduce this. Anyway, this show, everything we do here, is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, who are experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney Cruise Line vacation. When you book with them, it costs you nothing extra on your trip, and you receive a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, as well as a sweet little cruise gift basket. And that's for all cruises, not just Disney cruises. So check them out, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, for a free, no obligation quote today. So here's the thing, everyone. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I am someone who has not been on very many cruises. I haven't booked any of them for myself. I'm realizing right now as well, like they've all been work-related cruises, essentially. So I thought today we could have a discussion about some tips, tricks, recommendations on how you go about selecting a Disney cruise, because I'm sure there are a lot of first-timers out there, or people that are starting to think about dipping into cruising versus, Walt Disney World or a Disneyland vacation, or they just want to mix it up. But it can be, I feel like, intimidating, because I feel like the Disney cruise, or just cruise line life in general, people like get into it, and it becomes very hardcore, and it can be sort of, I don't know, for someone like me, it's like almost overwhelming where you're like, where do you dip your feet in? See what I did there? Like water? Dipping your feet in? Yeah? Okay.
Nicely done.
You're
Nicely
welcome.
Done.
Yeah, lowbrow humor here everywhere.
Splash in.
So,
dive in now.
So I wrote in my notes here, I said, what are your favorites? Like, do you have favorite ships that you like look for when you start looking? Are there itineraries that you're after, the budgets, like the themed cruises, whatever? I know it won't be like the longest show in the world, or I hope to not make it the longest show in the world with these questions, but I'm just curious, when I ask this sort of question, does something immediately pop into your head where you're like, this is my go-to?
Budget.
Budget was my number one listed on here.
Well, and I think sometimes people don't realize, they go, oh, Disney Cruise is so expensive. And Disney Cruise Line is more expensive than if you're going to do a Carnival cruise.
Yeah.
It just is. But I always want, if you want to do a Christmas cruise, it's going to be expensive. If you want to do a Thanksgiving cruise, if you want to do a spring break, those are high times for Disney Cruise Line, for all cruise lines, for travel. But I'm doing a Alaska cruise next month in August, and our cruise is mid-month. If you did a cruise 2 weeks later, it's 20, 25, 30% less expensive. That's that little...
One of the best things I've ever done in this job too was the Alaska
amazing,
cruise.
right?
Incredible. Yeah. It was. Are you on the Disney Wonder for that? Is that?
Yeah, Disney Wonder.
Elaine was there with me.
I was with you.
Yeah, Elaine and I, TMI, drank quite a number of. We did an excursion one day where we went to it wasn't the Sawyer Glacier, but it was one of the glaciers. Small ship comes and gets you
Mendenhall.
off of the big ship and takes you
yeah.
out, and they hook one of the giant pieces of ice from the glacier, and they break it up, and they were like, we're making glacier margaritas. And I said, yeah, we're getting those.
That's too cool.
Craig, Elaine, and I had them. They were neon blue, so they were good. But the ice was the clearest ice I've ever seen in my entire life. And we did not eat that day. So we were like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like,
we were going to have one glacierita.
Oh.
We did not have one glacierita.
We had 3 glacieritas.
No, we had 4.
4.
You came back with another one.
Oh, yeah, leave it to me. I'm that tricky
Water
guy.
for me.
Yeah, and water for you.
One for Craig, here's water for you.
But, I mean, how many times in my life am I going to be drinking a margarita made from the glacier ice? So I was
you're
like...
looking in front of.
Yeah, so here's the thing. This is the thing that's really cool about that Disney Cruise Line experience is I'm like... there's no real other way. I mean, I'm sure there are, like, maybe other ways you can do this, but... What a cool experience and what a great thing to have done. I mean, yeah, it was a work trip and stuff, but it was like, I will forever have this thing where it was like kind of raining. It was cold. I thrive in the cold, and I'm just like, give me that margarita. And watching like goats on the side of the mountain and everything, it was just like beautiful, beautiful. So, Chris, when you say, 25, 30% off later, I'm like, is this something I want to book right now?
Yeah.
Because this is one of those cruises, specifically that, and I have a question in here about how do you pick an itinerary. I felt like on the Disney Cruise Line or whatever cruise line you're going to pick when you go through that Alaska way, like this is one of those things where I was like, nobody can take a bad picture here. It is literally an incredible, and it is also, I don't know, you're going to parts of the world that you're like, how else are you going to get there? They're talking like, I don't know if it was Juneau or
No roads in, right?
There was like no roads in, and I was just like, how incredible. Like, I will watch TV shows and still think about being like, there's an animated show called The Great North, and they bring up random parts of Alaska a lot, and they were talking about Ketchikan the other night, and I was like, I've been there. Like, and I'm like, and so I don't know. It like, I don't want to be like, it changes you, but it does. It sits on you.
And I think
it's like,
it's a great point for. So my son is now 13.
Yeah.
He has been to the Baltic Sea. We chased pigeons in St. Petersburg, out front of
Florida.
Russia.
Yeah.
It's the only one and only time I'll be in Russia. But he chased pigeons while my family was in the huge museum there. There are places he's done in the Mediterranean. He's been able to see all sorts of different places. But it's a travel experience that I think feels more safe because you're coming back to this ship, which feels very comfortable, feels very at home. Mm-hmm. And so what a great way to show your kids how to travel, the different experiences. As you say, you've been to Ketchikan, you've been to those places, and by doing it on a Disney ship, it creates a very different but very safe kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's the portable Disney bubble that you take with you. It's the same way I feel about like Adventures by Disney. Obviously I've only done one of those, and it was in an area I was familiar with in California, but it was still an incredible experience. But I imagine that sort of same thing, like that, having that in Alaska, like having that, like knowing you're on this moving hotel. So you're like, okay, the luggage, it removes that element of stress for you. And I know that's not the angle of this show, but I'm just saying, like, in my experience, so I have in here itinerary being one, but you said budget, and you two being travel agents specifically, Elaine and Chris, is that a thing? Could somebody come to you through Dreams Unlimited Travel when they request like a quote or something like that? Could they be like, I'm not necessarily interested in the itinerary, I'm more interested in staying in this budget? And is that a thing where you could come through and be like, okay, well, let me scroll through? Because I know, Elaine, I think you said you have itineraries up through like 2026?
May
like
2026.
May of 2026 is what we're booking through right now for Disney.
And so somebody could come through and come with you with a budget and say like, hey, I'm looking at tiptoeing. Either I'm a regular cruiser or I'm somebody who's really just like, oh, I want to try it. And you could come back with them with like in that thing.
Yeah.
You'll forgive my ignorance here. I just don't know.
No, we can do that. And even the same kind of thing, but another angle. I had a friend that she wanted to take her two kids on a Disney cruise, and they wanted to go over Thanksgiving. She said, I don't care where we go. I don't care where we leave out of. I don't care what ship I'm on. So I was able to... Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just listening to make sure I could hear you. You're fine.
So I took her thing of, we want to go over Thanksgiving, and I went through the 5 ships, and I was able to provide her with, here's the ship, here's where it leaves from, here's the itinerary, here's what it is for the same stateroom on all 5 of them. I handed them all to her, and she was able to choose which one she wanted from that.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I mean, that's interesting to me. I not to be that guy, and I'm not trying to push the travel agency or anything. I mean, that is, sometimes the purpose of our show. Yeah, right. But it is one of those where, I'm going to be real honest right here. I remember starting here, and I'm thinking to myself, why would anyone use a travel agency in this day and age? And this is one of those things where I'm like, this is something where I'm like, I don't want to do that work myself. And that's what I think is great that you're just telling me this, where I was like, okay, setting those parameters and being like, can you look for me? I think that's cool.
And with the booking and with everything between the booking and the cruise, because with the Alaska cruise, how many times did you and I text back and forth before the Alaska cruise on just getting you to Canada?
Yes, there was. We were in those times of being like a panic about, will I be able to get into Canada or not?
Well, even like passports. You didn't know that we needed a passport.
Yes, because technically we're leaving from Vancouver. Yeah, so we had to touch ground in another country, and it's fine. It worked out. Now I got a passport, and I got to see Vancouver. It was great. Yeah, but it's stuff like that I definitely would not have known that, because traditionally I know a lot of people, they think like, oh, when you leave out of Florida, you don't need a passport because it's a closed loop. But when you're porting out of Vancouver, it's not. It is a closed loop. I mean, but you are leaving the United States to start your journey and then going back into the United States and then
Pro
coming
tip:
back into Canada.
get
Right?
a passport. If you're going out of the
Yeah.
country,
If
get
you're
a
going out, get a
passport.
passport. It doesn't matter
Even
where
if
you
it's a
live from.
Florida one, a closed loop one, it's
Sooner
just
than later,
yeah.
anyways, too, because it's
just
been
smart.
been a backup. Yeah. So that's good to know. I mean, so Chloe, let me ask you over there.
Yeah.
What's something you look at when you're thinking about picking a cruise?
I
Do you
mean,
got a
the shi-
favorite ship? Is
I-
that a big difference for you? Big factor?
Yeah. I mean, itinerary is important for me too. I love 7-night itineraries a lot. I feel like I can fully check out and actually enjoy the ship and the destinations.
Amen.
Yeah. But with that comes, I am definitely considering what ship I'm going to be on. And my favorite ship is the Fantasy. I think because naturally I have done so many 7-night cruises on the Fantasy, but I love the Dream class a lot. So.
Yeah, and so the ships are all different sizes and things like that. I know
Yes.
that's a big deal. Some people want smaller ships, larger ships. Some people are indifferent to that. Like I've been on what's the giant Royal Caribbean?
I mean, there's Utopia
The
now, but the
Oasis?
Oasis is.
I think
yeah.
it's where we had a podcast cruise on that one. That thing is a city at sea.
Mm.
Crazy big.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's one of those where it's like, oh, what's that experience like versus like a little bit more intimate. Like the Viking cruise that I went on that went through Italy. I think there was only like 1,000 people on that ship, which is, you'd think sounds like a really big number. But when you're on a ship with like 6 or 7 decks, I can't remember. Don't quote me on any of this. But it was very quiet. It was very personal. It was very intimate. But it was also like super classy. And I was like, I feel like an imposter here. Like I don't belong here. But it was really cool. It was really nice. So
But with Viking ships, the destination is the destination, not the ship
Yeah.
being the destination. And that is a big thing that I like to ask when people say to me with that very open-ended email, we want to go on a cruise, we don't know where to start. The big thing is what is most important to
Yeah.
you. Is it the budget? Is it where you are going? Is it that we want a warm vacation or we want an adventure vacation or something like that? You look at, so that's how it says with the destination. When you can travel, that is huge.
Yeah.
Because if you have kids and you want to work around school schedule, or if you're like, I don't care, I'll take them out of school, all of that kind of thing. It's kind of the whole like, who, what, when, where,
Yeah.
why, how. It literally, you go through those when you're.
well, it's like
booking.
how do you whittle it down? Like I
Right.
know this is what I want to invest in, and now it's that intimidation of being like.
Right.
So I do have a question in terms of that because I didn't even think about the kids with the school sort of a thing. Is there traditionally do cruises get more expensive the closer they get, or is there a thing where it's like a month out and they'll be like the ship isn't filling up, we'll do a deal, or that's like a no?
So with Disney, opening day is the cheapest the base fare will be.
Mm-hmm.
As the ship fills, the price goes up. Now, Disney does do, every once in a while, they will do like a guarantee rooms where you can book. We'll talk about more of this on our stateroom show, but you can book like a veranda guarantee, which means you are guaranteed to have a veranda stateroom, but you don't get to pick the location or the category or anything like that. Those generally come out anywhere between 3 to 6 months before the cruise. They are not on every single cruise, and they are on just very rare select cruises. But Disney does not traditionally do when you're a month out, they start like red line slashing everything 70% off.
Yeah.
They do not do that at all. And I have found that they generally, when you get that close, they remove any kind of Florida resident discount, military discount. All of that is wiped off, and they are charging full fare for those last-minute cruises.
This is legitimately something I did not know, so I am learning.
And also those special rates usually don't come out until after people's pay in full date has happened. So I have clients who occasionally say, "Oh, I want to get one of they're called VGT, OGT, IGT.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get one of those." And like, well, it's like if you booked in advance, your price is probably going to be less than even those special rates. You did fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't do Disney if you're looking for a discount, they're not discount.
Yeah.
So it's not what they do.
You're not going
not
to get
to-
a $300 cruise on Disney.
Right.
Well, and also not to beat a whatever the expression is about a dead horse. I don't know who it is. Drowned horse in this section. God, why am I saying dying horses so much?
Oh my. Stop.
He's bitter about horses.
No, it's just like this is one of those examples where I feel like I'm coming off like a used car salesman a little bit here, but this is an example of where you would want to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel because, again, it doesn't cost you extra to book on the vacation, but you're taking advantage of a deal, which is they're going to offer you the shipboard credit, right? Mm-hmm. And the basket is a really nice touch, honestly, because it has stuff that I don't think I would never have thought about, to bring on a cruise and stuff like that. Just fun little things and stuff. But that shipboard credit, you got to think like, okay, well, maybe that's your cocktail budget. Or maybe that's your souvenir budget or something like that. That's the way you save money on these types of cruises then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
It is. And that's the thing, we can't say this about every single agency or website or anything like that. We can only speak for us personally that our price is the exact same price as if you book it yourself. Having a travel agent, the price is actually built into the cost of the cruise. And if you book it with Disney, you just don't get that benefit. We hand you free money to book with us.
Yeah.
So,
There's no additional cost, and we give you money. That's
right.
like not.
I mean,
I was
like,
before I became
even if you never want to talk to me ever again, just book it through me so that I can give you free money.
That's what I tell some clients. I was a Dreams client before I became an agent, so I've seen the world from both sides. And even though I'm a planner, I like to plan all this stuff out, but I still use Dreams. I got the free money, but you also have people who are looking out for things. Can I just get back to selecting a cruise? Because I think people also don't realize there are specialty cruises like the Halloween cruises, like the holiday cruises, but also they do Marvel Day at Sea cruises, which I haven't done one yet. I'm dying to do one. Marvel Day at Sea cruises. They have Pixar Day at Sea cruises. So there are all sorts of different kinds of cruises. If you want to do those go at special times, so you have to kind of plan.
Yeah.
But it's a real opportunity to do something different. If you say, "Oh, I've been to these locations," you get to have a different aspect to your cruise.
Chloe, have you done any of those?
I have. I've done quite a few Halloween on the High Seas voyages.
Here's the thing about Chloe and I. We love Halloween.
We love Halloween.
Chloe maybe more so than me.
But I actually started doing those kind of on accident because I was always looking for the most affordable way to do a 7-night years and years ago. And you can travel during this time because it's peak back to school time, but that first week in September is when they start doing Halloween voyages typically, and I mean they're like significantly less than summertime voyages. So if you can travel during that time, that's when I used to do it. And no, I love Halloween on the High Seas. They have a special Halloween designated day where they celebrate Halloween all around the ship. All the activities are taken over by Halloween. There's typically a Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along, and you get to meet Jack and Sally afterwards.
Oh, that's fun.
They'll have adult and family costume parties. The menu for that night, I think they usually just do like a special dessert, but like the drinks of the day are Halloween themed. And all the characters are out in their Halloween costumes. It is so much fun. If you love Halloween, it's definitely a must.
But do you dress in costume? That is the
I
important
have,
question.
yes.
Yeah, baby.
Important question part B.
Yes.
Do you dress up for Pirate Night?
I don't typically. What I've done in the
I
past.
will say that. I have.
I know. I'm
thought we were gonna be
sorry.
friends.
I'll wear like a peasant top and I'll wear the bandana. This most recent, when I was on the Magic for the Lighthouse Point preview, I brought my Muppet Treasure Island dress, and it has like a big animal and a pirate hat, and I'm like, this is my designated Pirate Night dress now because it's so easy. And they always play Muppet Treasure Island on the Funnel Vision that night, which is like peak pirate night for me. I don't care about anything else. I just need Muppet Treasure Island. Thank you. So yeah, I don't go all out. I'm so sorry, but Halloween, absolutely, I will. Yes.
I started our very first cruise, and we're getting off track. But Pirate Night it's no secret if you watch this show, you know that I like Pirate Night, and it's my favorite night of cruise. But yeah, I started with just like a T-shirt with like skull and crossbones. I now have the full outfit.
Yeah.
It has its own like packing cube that it lives in. So I
That's
just have
great.
to pick it up and put it in.
That's
the
perfect.
suitcase with shoes and like, yeah.
The other cruise that I've done a bunch of are New Year's Eve cruises. Because I'm not a big New Year's Eve person.
That's rude because my birthday's January 1st. Go on.
There you go. No, I love your I celebrate your birthday and not do the New Year's Eve stuff. But I generally don't like the holidays where people feel like they have to drink and so you have all sorts of problems. The Disney atmosphere is lovely. They do fireworks right at midnight. They also have at 8:00. They have a early for the kids who aren't going to see midnight, so they have a big celebration at 8:00 where they count down. And the other thing, that's such a period of time where so many people are traveling, they can only put so many people on those ships. So it doesn't feel, yes, the ship is crowded.
It's less crowded than New York City.
It's less crowded than New York City or some of the other places you can go, some the all-inclusive resorts or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, by the way, one New Year's Eve at midnight on the Dream, they opened up the aqueduct, and there was I did the aqueduct. There was a guy in front of us who was wearing his tuxedo and doing the aqueduct. It was
my gosh!
Awesome.
Wow,
it was awesome.
Yeah. That's
I
incredible.
went and changed, and then we went on the aqueduct. But I mean, it's a great way to welcome in the new year. So
I have some clients that they literally every single year they have been doing the last couple of years they've been doing that New Year's Eve cruise, and it's they've got friends that go with them. It's a couple staterooms, and they do it every single year, and they love it.
Okay, well, I have one more question then for before we'll wrap this up. I know this is one of those things where you're like, I could talk forever again about this because now I'm like, okay. Like, I want to know each person here. I want to know what's the thing when you're thinking about a cruise? What's the number one thing you're looking at? Like when you personally. What's your, Chloe, like how you said earlier, the thing you always look at was like a budget-based thing. But I'm talking like right now, this point in your life, you've done a lot of cruises, obviously, travel agents and, and former jobs and stuff like that. Like, we're going to go to the cruise line website right now. What's the number one thing? How are you deciding where and what you want to do? Elaine, you're first.
For me, personally, at this time in my life, I am looking for something different. And that's why I was so excited to go to Lookout Key, because it was something different than going to Castaway Key over and over and over again. And that's why, Rhino talked about our Alaska trip. That was 100% a core memory day. I literally think about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. And so that was something different than those Bahama, Caribbean, that kind of thing. And so now I want to start doing like Greece and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's finding something different.
Greece would be great.
And that's why I loved the Wish, because it was different than the other four ships. And I know that's why a lot of people didn't like it, but that's why I liked it.
But does that? So are you excited for the one in December? Treasure? Is Treasure in December?
Yeah,
no.
It
Yeah,
is.
I always
It
get
is.
them mixed up. It's like
Treasure is in December. I'm more excited for the Treasure than I was the Wish, because that whole vibe of that ship.
Yeah.
I am there.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh, and that haunted
I am
mansion
there for that
bar.
whole vibe.
Periscope Pub,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Jungle
Periscope
Cruise
Pub,
Lounge.
yeah,
Oh,
I can't.
I think
very...
we need to do an on-site DCL fan.
Oh, I
DCL
like.
show.
See, I
Let's
like the way you
go.
think. Okay, all right. Well, we're going to
Let's
submit
go.
our proposal to John. Yeah,
John Magi?
John Magi. Yes, he's going to get a lot of emails all of a sudden. Be like, they should all go. And be like, did you tell people to send my email? He's asked me that before. I'm like, no. What about you, Chris? What's the thing you're at this point in your life? Same question.
So I agree with Elaine. They're doing something different. Where I am in my life, I'm orchestrating people. So it has to be, I need availability for a bunch of different folks. So, and I love being my happy place is on a Disney ship. And so if I can get a bunch of people lined up, if you want to go on a Disney ship, I'm happy to go along with you. If all the cards line up, then I'm willing to go, and I'm happy to go wherever. I love all the locations. I've been to Greece on a Disney ship. It's amazing. I'm happy to do anything. It's great.
And what about you, Chloe?
I agree with what Elaine was talking about with something different, and I'm so excited for the Treasure for that whole thing.
Yeah.
And of course, different destinations always appeal to me because I have done the Caribbean and the Bahamas a lot. However, Disney Cruise, I'm there for the ship. And so that's something I look at first and foremost, is what ship I'm going to be on. And right now in my life, I tend to spend a lot more time in the adult exclusive areas, and that's where I I favor the Dream and the Fantasy because I love that rainforest room. I love the Quiet Cove pool area. I love the tube, and I love everything that those ships have to offer adults at this time. So those are my go-tos right now.
I mean, it's really good for someone like me to know, because if you were like, okay, Rhino, we're gonna go and we're gonna pick it out. I think it's a combination of things where it's like, because we live in Florida, Chloe and I do. It's one of those where obviously I think we'd probably be looking at something leaving out of Port Canaveral, because that would save money. Although for me, I would love to do one of the West Coast ones. I'm just so curious about it, and there are new destinations that I haven't been to, and yeah, I'm one of those where, like, for me, I feel like I've been to the Bahamas enough on these ships, although I do really want to see the Lookout Key and things. But I think I'm like, what's so special about this ship?
Baja
I want to
cruises?
explore. I did enjoy the Wish. I was on the media cruise, and that was cool. And I've listened to what people said and how it was very different from the other ships and sort of a thing. But for me, since I wasn't well versed in a lot of those, I was kind of like, I don't know, I like the vibe. Like, yeah. I will say their nightlife was a thing that made me, when there's not somewhere to dance, I get a little sad. So that's all. But that's what staterooms are for, dancing.
True.
But I think for me, it would be a little bit of like kind of everything we said. Definitely a little budget conscious, but I think I loved Alaska so much. Like that area is calling for me. So it would be like, I'd reach out to my agent and be like, I want to go to Alaska. I just want you to tell me when the budget's right. Like when you as an agent, and that's another service that's great. I didn't mean to make this educating you on what the services our Dreams Unlimited agents can provide, but this is how I would use that experience, where I am not well-versed, but I'd be like, I loved that experience I had, and I'd say, I want you to watch out for this for me. If and I'd take your advice on when you think it is a good deal or not. Sort of a thing, because it's a little bit of that budget, but also like there are these other crazy sometimes ones that you get, like the repositioning cruises or those transatlantic ones where it's like 14 days, right? Where like they're moving
Dream.
the ship over to a European port. Yeah, which is crazy.
I love that.
And sometimes they're like way less than you think they're going to be, because they just want bodies on the ship to move the
And
ship.
there's no port fees because they're just traveling.
Visit ports. It's not 14 days.
Oh,
at
yeah.
sea.
Right.
Yeah.
You actually do go to ports when you're doing that.
I think you would really love a Panama Canal. Panama
Oh,
Canal
yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
amazing to do.
Yeah.
And
Have you done that?
No, the
did you
Royal
do?
the Royal Caribbean cruise that we were on was I don't remember the directions. It did involve Cozumel, so it was like that thing, and I do like that itinerary. Is that Western?
Western,
Eastern?
yeah.
I don't-
Western.
Yeah, Western, right? Like I liked that. That was cool, and I've only done one of those. So most of mine have gone like out. Like the longest one, the other longest one I was on was a 7-night one that left out of Puerto Rico. So it
That's
was
what it
like,
was. That's
yeah,
what I
that
was
was,
thinking of
and
that
it
you
was the
did.
one where the next cruise, once we got back to Puerto Rico, was repositioning the ship, but
Got
they
it.
hadn't booked. It was one of those where it was like, whoops, didn't think that through. Otherwise, we would have been booked to do that. But yeah, I think my experience on the Viking cruise line when I went to Italy was I was like, this is how I would use cruising for me personally, because it was like every night I was in a different city. And there were no days at sea on that one specifically. Not that days at sea are bad, but I am somebody who suffers from motion sickness, so it stresses me out. But literally the days at sea, I feel the ship move the least amount. And I mean, knock on wood, I don't want a hurricane or a storm to happen while I'm on ship. But they have equipment to monitor for all that stuff. And so, but those days are very calm, very easy. But like I loved exploring Italy that way. And I know for some people it's like, oh, it's not enough time in this port or that port. But for me, I'm like, yeah, but I got to see so many different cities that then now I know where if I want to come back and do that
Exactly.
one specifically. And I think
Exactly.
that's really cool. And that's how I would like want to look at cruising. You know what I like bucket list place to go for me is like Australia or like New Zealand, like that side of the world. And I would love like, I know there's a ship now, right? Isn't there a new ship coming to Japan?
New one to Japan, new one to Singapore.
But
Yeah.
the Wonder goes
And the Wonder
to
is-
Australia and New Zealand now.
The Wonder is
okay.
doing a lovely 10-day. Well, most of the ones in Australia are like short and stuff, but they're doing a 10-day that goes all the way around New Zealand and then finishes up days before New Year's Eve in Sydney, Australia.
Birthday,
That has your name
I'm
written
gonna
all
be
over it.
40.
Trip.
I'm
Birthday
gonna be
trip.
40. Group trip? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Maybe your birthday cruise.
I know. Now I'm like,
Let's go.
I'll have to reach out to my Dreams Unlimited travel agent. Anyway, I think that's the perfect time to bring this ship to shore and call it a day on this this episode. But thank you, everybody, for that insight. I do really appreciate it. I'd love to hear from the audience as well. So if you are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to leave some comments out there. If you are watching, remember to like the video if you did, and like I just said, leave comments. I just threw myself off, but remember to subscribe to the channel, click that bell. You get notified whenever we have new content to publish out there. And if you're listening, please feel free to rate and review the podcast whenever you have the opportunity. We'd love some feedback on there. And of course, don't forget to reach out to some of our amazing Dreams Unlimited travel agents like Elaine. How would they reach out to you? What's your email?
Email is Elaine, ELAINE, at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And Chris?
I am Chris V, CHRISV, as in Vorabek, Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
Well, and then Chloe and I are just people.
Just bon voyage.
Just, hey, sailor, this one's for you.
Hey.
Yes, they know clearly they are a wealth of knowledge. So please feel free to reach out to them, and you can head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com to learn more. That's going to do it for this. I forgot my closing line that we had talked about between this and the last show.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage. Thank God for you, Chloe. Sorry I couldn't build you a longer show, Rose. I'm going to keep using the Titanic one. It's fine. But that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.